I know how insane this story sounds. If someone told it to me a year ago, I probably wouldn't have believed it either. But somehow I ended up becoming friends with my fiancé's ex-girlfriend. And for a while, I genuinely thought she cared about me. Her name was Rachel. I met her accidentally at a cafe about 8 months after getting engaged to my fiancé, Connor. At the time, I only recognized her because Connor had mentioned her once or twice early in our relationship. Nothing dramatic. Just, we dated for years. It ended badly. We don't speak anymore. So when she introduced herself politely at the cafe, I expected tension. Instead she smiled warmly and said, "Honestly, I'm just happy he finally treated someone well." That immediately lowered my guard. Over the next few weeks we kept running into each other around town. Eventually we exchanged numbers, and surprisingly, we clicked. Rachel was funny, confident, easy to talk to. Meanwhile Connor seemed slightly uncomfortable every time I mentioned her. Looking back now, that should have been my first warning sign. But at the time, I assumed breakups are awkward and left it alone. Then came the first plot twist. One night Rachel casually asked, "Does Connor still disappear when he's stressed?" The question caught me off guard because Connor did disappear emotionally sometimes. Not fully. Just enough to make me anxious. When I asked what she meant, Rachel laughed awkwardly and changed the subject. But after that conversation, little things started bothering me. Connor suddenly became protective of his phone. He got defensive over random questions. Sometimes he'd disappear for hours claiming he needed space. Rachel meanwhile kept subtly hinting that Connor wasn't who I thought he was. Never directly. Just enough to plant doubt. At first I thought she might still have feelings for him. Then things escalated. One afternoon Rachel invited me over for wine and showed me old photos from their relationship. At first it felt harmless. Then she started telling stories about Connor cheating emotionally during their relationship. Flirting with co-workers. Messaging women late at night. Lying constantly. My stomach dropped hearing it because several details sounded painfully familiar. And suddenly I started wondering if I was repeating her exact relationship. That night I confronted Connor. And instead of reassuring me, he exploded. Not sad. Not defensive. Angry. He accused Rachel of trying to sabotage us and demanded I stop talking to her immediately. That reaction made me trust him even less. Then came the second plot twist. A few days later Rachel called me crying. Apparently Connor had contacted her privately after our argument. And according to Rachel, he begged her to stop interfering. At that point I genuinely thought Rachel was trying to protect me from him. So I leaned on her emotionally even more. Huge mistake. Because about 2 months before the wedding, I discovered something horrifying by accident. I borrowed Rachel's laptop while visiting her apartment because my phone battery died. And a messaging app opened automatically. What I saw made my entire body go cold. Rachel and Connor had been talking the entire time. Not occasionally. Constantly. For months. About me. Screenshots of my texts. Private conversations I'd shared with Rachel. Arguments Connor and I had behind closed doors. Everything. One message from Connor literally said, "She trusts you more than anyone now." I genuinely thought I might pass out. But the worst part? Rachel replied, "Relax. She still thinks I'm helping her." I remember staring at the screen unable to process what I was reading. Because suddenly the entire friendship felt fake. Manufactured. Strategic. And somehow it got even worse. The third plot twist came while scrolling through older messages. Rachel and Connor weren't secretly dating again. They weren't sleeping together. Nothing like that. Instead, they'd become obsessed with controlling the narrative around their breakup. Connor hated being seen as the villain. Rachel hated being replaced. So together, they created this bizarre emotional game where Rachel inserted herself into my life to monitor the relationship while Connor fed her information privately. Neither of them had fully moved on emotionally. And somehow I became collateral damage in their unresolved dysfunction. The revenge payoff happened quietly. No screaming. No dramatic confrontation. I simply disappeared. I cancelled the wedding. Blocked both of them everywhere. Moved apartments within 2 weeks. And most importantly, I told the truth before they could rewrite it. Mutual friends learned everything. Screenshots spread quickly. And suddenly Connor and Rachel's carefully controlled image collapsed completely. People started distancing themselves almost immediately because honestly, the whole situation was deeply unsettling. A month later Connor showed up outside my work asking to talk. He kept insisting. It wasn't what it looked like. Which honestly was hilarious because I still have no idea what it was supposed to look like. Rachel later posted vague quotes online about losing good people because of misunderstandings. I blocked her too. Last I heard, they briefly tried dating again after I left. Apparently it lasted less than 3 months before imploding dramatically. And honestly, that feels strangely perfect. Because eventually toxic people stop needing victims. They start destroying each other instead.